Got my presenter view here. And the title of this training/presentation is Mindfulness, the Heart and the Breath, Finding Peace in the Storm. And again, I'm really happy to be doing this, and feel grateful to contribute to the TVUSD community in this way. Okay, so let's explore the purpose. Like, why am I here? Why are we doing this? And the purpose, of course, is to explore and apply and experience the positive impacts of mindfulness and the breath. So today, this is about us as parents and as educators. I've given different talks on mindfulness and meditation before. I did one for the CAC in May of last year. And so in the past, I have focused on some of the mechanics and kind of on explanations and the science of mindfulness, that sort of thing, which I think is really important, because there's wonderful research and good stuff out there showing how helpful and beneficial learning how to quiet the mind is. But for today, like, especially because of the fact that this is a recorded presentation, my hope was that this could be a little more centered around experience and really kind of, getting in there and doing some of these practices and seeing if we can actually work with our stress right here, right now, here as a group. And I think that that's where the real meat and the real joy of these practices, where they come alive. It's in the doing it. So I will talk a little bit in terms of presenting some ideas, but it'll be a little less sciencey, a little more narrative focused on just the processes that we deal with when we practice mindfulness and breathing techniques. Okay. So a little about me. I mentioned that I'm a district therapist here at Temecula Valley Unified. I also teach in higher education. I do some administrative work at higher education. And my passion in terms of my clinical work as a therapist really is on helping people to heal through finding the place of quiet, stillness, and joy that we all have within. And that when we can find that place and bring the things that hurt and bring the things that are challenging to that place of peace within that we all have, that the healing and a reduction of symptoms and stress can happen. And so, like, within this space, I do consider myself a person first and a therapist second, educator third, in that way. That who I am as a person is not separate from my interest and passion for this side of life. I've never really mentioned this in other presentations that I've given, but people could probably infer that meditation changed my life about 15 years ago. I've been a regular meditator and mindfulness and breathwork practitioner for about 15 years. And the reason why I'm so enthused about it is because it changed my life. And the way that it did it was very, very simple. I had one of those aha lightning strike moments where just through the act of sitting with my thoughts and with my feelings, especially the ones that were really painful, things that I was dealing with in my mid-20s. We all have struggles and pain and stuff, but there was some particular things that I was dealing with. And so I kind of experimented with, what would happen if I just sat with my feelings and didn't judge them and breathed through them. And what I found was transformation, was that, like, the pain and the blocks would just kind of release, and they would dissolve, and I would find peace and clarity. And that was a major, major moment for me. Kind of opened up a whole world for me. and it was directly related within my choice and like decision to like become a therapist and to like do this stuff professionally. And of course, I will say that I'm absolutely a work in progress. And, have to use like mindfulness and breathing on a daily basis to kind of bring me back to center when my mind wants to go astray and anxiety wants to loom and stress wants to, threaten to overtake me. Okay, so some brief facts about mindfulness. Right. First of all, it's very important to recognize that it does not require any allegiance to a particular religious or belief system. It's simple, but not easy. And mindfulness itself does not necessarily require formal meditation. So those two things are somewhat different. Closely related, but different. And of course, as we know, there has been an explosion of interest in mindfulness, and for good reason. It's, people are suffering, and people need to find new ways to cope. Okay, so here's just some general like benefits of mindfulness. It can help the body, it can help emotions, it can help interpersonal functioning, it can help one's personal psychology. Now, how does that happen? Well, basically, through the act of learning how to calm the brain and nervous system and help people to find find a centered place within them, then the body starts to repair itself. One gets more kind of grounded in terms of what they're feeling, therefore leading to better decisions in relationships, and then feeling better, overall about oneself and life. So those are, some of the claims about mindfulness and meditation can seem grandiose, but really when it comes down to it, our problems are quite simple. It's related to stress, fear, sadness, etc. And that's what mindfulness and meditation many times targets. Okay, so we've talked science-y a little bit and given some facts and that sort of thing, and we're going to kind of move away from that now. So what is mindfulness? What is it? And as I kind of implied and mentioned a little bit before, is that mindfulness means to be aware of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions in a condition of openness and non-judgment. So basically, it's a state of mind. It's cultivating a state of mind, which is a response to suffering. Basically, learning to be more open and inclusive with whatever it is that you're feeling. So let's talk about suffering. What causes suffering? Okay. So our thoughts cause suffering. Thoughts about the past, the present, and future. Our feelings cause suffering. Body states, when you get so anxious that your legs turn into jelly, or when your neck and shoulders get so tight that you get a headache, when your stomach is gurgling and feeling like it's in knots. Our body states certainly cause suffering. Similarly, our feelings about our thoughts cause suffering. So we have thoughts, and then we have feelings about those thoughts, especially if they're depressive and negative thoughts, that kind of thing. And our thoughts about our feelings also cause suffering. So if we're feeling bad, if we're having anxiety, the experience of anxiety or stress in the body, and then we start thinking negative thoughts like, oh, this is terrible, I'm feeling really terrible, then it increases like the body state, and then the thoughts get worse, and it just becomes, we get kind of wound up and fall into this spiral of negative thinking, negative experiencing. So now I'm going to ask a question that maybe is an interesting question to you. But the question is this, it's who is it that suffers? So who is suffering? So when one is experiencing suffering, who is it that's suffering? And so the answer might seem kind of intuitive and knee-jerk, like I. But let me give you another answer. It is the ego that suffers. So the ego is another name for the sense of self, my sense of self. So if you see this little diagram on the left, drawn by yours truly, you can see that we have a mind. I'm moving my cursor. Hopefully you can see that. So we have a mind, and you can see that as the wider circle here, like the larger circle. And within that mind is a little structure, another circle called the ego. Okay. And so like the ego within a little circle is a collection of thoughts, feelings, memories, conditioning, and associations. And now the ego can actually be tracked via brain scans in something that's called the default mode network. So if you see those little parts on this brain, and there's a side view and a kind of top view, that when someone is thinking about themselves, when there's a self-referential thought, so I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm annoyed, you annoyed me, etc., etc. It is these areas of the brain that light up and that correlate with the experience of the ego. I, me, mine. Me, myself, and I. Okay. So when we ask the question, who is it that suffers? It is the ego within us that suffers. And we all have a sense of self. We all have an ego. So these are the ego's rules. These are pretty much universal. And so let's explore. What are the ego's rules? Well, the ego, the sense of self, says that the world should be a certain way. It also says that people should be a certain way. And the ego, rounds it out with saying that we as selves should be a certain way. Now, here's the tricky part. When any of the above rules are broken, then we, as the ego, will react in any number of ways. And what are those ways? Well, let's check it out. So some of the body-mind reactions we might have are anger. We might feel rage, irritation, hostility, frustration, guilt, shame, low self-esteem, feeling bad about ourselves. Sadness, where we might have depressive thoughts, feelings of loss, feelings of grief. And anxiety, stress, fear, worry about the past, worry about the future, nervousness in the body. Now that correlates with, you might have heard of the fight, flight, or freeze response in the brain, which is also known as a sympathetic nervous system response, where the system goes into hyper focus because it detects a threat. So when your kids do something that they weren't supposed to do according to your rules, technically that's kind of an ego rule that you put in place. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but like you have a rule that this is the way my kids should be. And so when the kids break those rules, break those ego rules, there's going to be a reaction because it's a threat to the system. Okay? And so likely a response of anger, maybe sadness, maybe anxiety might surface. Okay? Now, the problem with the ego is when it goes overboard, when it lays so many rules against what the world, people, and ourselves should be, that we're in a state of stress and suffering all the time. That's how problematic the ego can be, because it has rules about everything. And so we're just affected by everything, because of course, as we know, the world does not like to operate according to our rules, all the time. Sometimes it does, and so we feel good because our kind of ego's rules are being honored. But oftentimes it's not that way, and so we feel stress. It's a body feeling, and so there's a little kind of graphic of the nervous system. Like we feel it in our bodies, we feel it in our experience, right? So in very simple terms, mindfulness calms down, chills out the chatter of the ego. It's just what it does. It just chills out, softens the edges, the chatter of the ego. How? It's a good question. We've kind of touched on it, but let's kind of circle back again. By increasing our ability to feel our feelings from a place of peace and stillness. So we breathe, we're calm, we're centered. And so then we allow ourselves to feel our feelings. And when we can feel our feelings, when we're not pushing them away, saying they shouldn't be there, saying that they're wrong, saying all the shoulds, this shouldn't have happened, this person shouldn't have done this to me. But instead allowing the feelings to process through us, getting to a centered state. That's how we can get on the other side of suffering. And so another way of saying that, it's finding the stillness in the storm that heals. One of the reasons that the COVID-19 pandemic was so stressful for so many people, and I certainly don't want to minimize anyone's suffering, but one of the reasons why it was so stressful is because our expectations, the ego rules, if you will, about what the world should be, was not honored. Those rules about what the world should be were broken. We had rules that we should be able to go outside. We should be able to send our kids to school. We should be able to not wear masks everywhere. We should be able to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those were rules that we've incorporated that were broken, and that's part of where the suffering comes. And again, not to minimize any of the actual physical suffering, et cetera, that we've gone through. But if you think about it, it's kind of an interesting point. Okay. So now we're moving in the direction of practice, and so we're just kind of setting up what we're going to do here. Just a few more thoughts. So the simple truth is that to become more present to our stress, frustrations, and anxieties is really to begin to form a new relationship with ourselves. And this is what mindfulness can help with. Just through the act of accepting our feelings, we change our relationship to our inner life, to our inner world. And now, this is especially the case in our lives and in our work, both as educators and parents and family members, which obviously can be immensely challenging and typically brings up some of the most powerful emotions we can have. Fear, despondency, despair, sadness, anger, rage. Okay. So let's begin kind of reviewing some of the mechanics of mindfulness, because again, my hope is that we really do some practice and see it's not going to be extensive, but I want it to be enough so that we can kind of, as a group, find some stillness, really have an experience of mindfulness, of finding the quiet place within. Right? So when we're talking about mindfulness, when we're talking about meditation, when we're talking about the breath, we're moving towards the ability to listen to my thoughts, the ability to feel my body's inner movement, even if it's uncomfortable. You might even, right now in this moment, do a quick kind of body scan into your body. Like, what are you feeling right now? What's going on in your body? Do you have any tightness in your neck? Do you feel a kind of pit, like a void of darkness in your stomach or in your heart? And can you gently be with that? Maybe breathe into it. Just let it go. And through that process, locate the quiet center that's inside. So another thing that I want to bring to the table here, and this is something that I've been exploring and that we've been exploring in the program that I work in with the wonderful Veronica Cubis, who is near and dear to the CAC, of course, is the idea of working with the heart. Now, many people don't know this. This is true. This is literally true. There's actual science, research, fancy stuff going on that's measuring and acknowledging and validating and working with the understanding of the heart as a powerful bioelectric center. So what does that mean? It means that the heart carries a powerful electromagnetic frequency that can be in a state of coherence or incoherence. So that when we're sad, when we're angry, you can literally have scans and readings showing your heart kind of energy, as it were, in a incoherent state. Whereas when you're feeling love, joy, peace, centeredness, that your heart will begin to register, if it's being measured, these coherent wave patterns that can be felt by other people. Very interesting stuff, very fascinating research. If you want to learn more, you can look up heart math. But so we've been working with our kids in our program to just very gently kind of access the peace and stillness in their heart, breathing into it, and finding stress relief and relaxation very quickly. And as you may know, the students that we work with in the SEAL program are some of the most dysregulated students in the entire district. So we're going to be working with the heart a little bit too here in our experiential exercises that we'll be getting to very shortly. The other thing too is to acknowledge that with the breath, combined with the breath itself is capable of transforming our inward experience. And so if we can identify pain, anger, grief, guilt as not just an experience in the mind, but an experience in the body. So think of the last time you were anxious. Where did you feel it? Where do you feel your anxiety? Most people feel anxiety and fear in their stomach or in their chest. So what's very, very interesting is that so much research and practice, and the practice is the important part because that's where it comes to life. And I see this in my own practice, my own clinical practice, my own personal life all the time. And when you can identify where you feel your stress, where your stress is coming from, and gently breathe into it and let it go, you can really get some movement of transforming what that stress feels like. And then it'll send signals back to the brain and you're on your way to a more calm state. Okay, so now let's do the fun stuff. Let's practice, okay? Let's practice. Now we're gonna be doing 3 mindfulness and breath practices here, okay? And I'm gonna guide us through it, Okay, I'm going to guide us through it. The first one we're going to do is something called box breathing, and I'm going to show you what that is. And now this is also something that we've been doing a lot with our kiddos in the SEAL program. And again, to great benefit. Okay. The next one we're going to do, after box breathing, is we're going to do a few minutes of something called heart breathing, which is kind of a variation of box breathing. Okay. Finally, we're going to do a short practice called making contact, and I'll explain what that is. Okay, so before we jump in, I want to define box breathing. Okay, so I got a slide for that. So this is the way we do box breathing. So you do a 4-second inhale, and actually it can be through your nose or through your mouth. It doesn't have to be through your nose. Okay. So a 4-second inhale, then you hold for 4, then you breathe out for 4, and then you hold for 4 again, and then you start over and you just repeat. Very cool exercise, really gets the oxygen kind of flowing through the body and through the system with pretty immediate effects. Okay, pretty immediate effects. So I'm going to guide us through 10 box breaths. Okay, 10 box breaths. So I'm going to switch over to our practice screen here. And so I'm going to invite you all, I'm going to give you all a few moments to find yourselves in a comfortable position. And go ahead and just kind of feel your feet on the ground. See if you can just take one regular breath just as kind of a cleansing breath. So go ahead and take a deep breath in. Just notice what happens when you begin paying attention to your body. See if you can just take another deep breath in. Just giving your body the indication that we're going to be doing something mindful. Okay. So remember that if you feel like you don't get the rhythm of the box breathing at first, it's okay, just stick with it. Remember, 4 seconds breath in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. And so I'm going to be guiding us, so don't worry, okay? So let's go ahead and start. You can put your hands in any comfortable position. I might encourage you to, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Okay. And so we will go ahead and start. Now take a gentle breath in for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Now hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Another deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3. Last one. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Just let yourself begin to breathe normally. Keep your eyes closed. Just begin to feel into your body and your system, and just notice how you feel. Perhaps you feel some tinglies in your body, in your head, in your appendages. Maybe you feel a sense of calm or relaxation. Just let yourself feel your brain and your nervous system in whatever way you feel it. Okay. So if you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes very gently. So now what I'll invite you to do is to turn your attention back to me and the instructions. Now we're going to be doing heart breathing. This is somewhat like box breathing, but here in this case, we're really going to use the heart as the imaginative center of the breath. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is by putting our hand right on our heart center, right in the middle. So if we see our palm as kind of the center that we're looking for, we can just put our palm right in the middle of our heart center, if that's comfortable for you, okay? So I will invite you all to do that. And just know that this is something very gentle, very healing for your body and for your system. Okay. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some deep breaths in, and I'm going to guide us. And so this time I will also participate more fully. But what we're going to what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we're taking our breaths through our heart. So that it's our breath that is doing the inhale. And as we're exhaling through the heart. And so just notice what happens in your body, in your system. As you breathe in through the heart, you hold it and you let it go. Okay. And so we're still going to follow a kind of rhythmic pattern, but I'm not going to do the counting this time. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close my eyes as I lead us here. Find yourself in another kind of grounded, calm, centered, and comfortable place. I'll invite you to put your hand right on your heart center if you haven't done that yet, and just notice what that feels like. For some, it can be a very soothing experience. So what I'll invite us to do now is take a deep breath in into the heart. Breathe in. Hold it. And let go through the heart. Another deep breath in into the heart. Hold it. And let go. Deep breath in into the heart. Hold it. And let it go. Notice your body. What's your body doing? Take a deep breath in into your heart. Hold it. And let go. We'll do a few more. Take a deep breath in into your heart. Hold it. And let it go. Deep breath in into the heart. Hold and let it go. Stay with it. Deep breath in into the heart. Hold it and let it go. Do 2 more. Deep breath in into the heart. Hold it and let it go. Last one. Deep breath in. Hold it and let it go. Now, if you find it comfortable, go ahead and move your arm back down. Just notice what's happening in your body. Just become aware and present for what's happening in your system. Notice your breathing. Notice the sensations that you might be feeling in your brain, in your shoulders, in your stomach, in your heart itself. Perhaps you feel a feeling of warmth or tingly. Perhaps you feel a little bit stress. Perhaps you feel no stress. So let's just stay in this position as we kind of lead into our next exercise, our final exercise. And so for this exercise, we are going to be going back to the heart. Okay, we are going to be using the heart again. And in this case, we're actually going to be thinking about something that is mildly to moderately stressful in our lives right now. Not something that is like the worst thing that is in your life, but just something that's mildly to moderately stressful in your life. Something that gives you that sense of kind of irritation or upset when you think about it. And we're going to work with that using our breath and the heart. And we'll just see what happens, okay? So what I'll invite you to do is go ahead and put your hand right back in your heart center, right in the middle there. Just notice what that feels like. Kind of give yourself a moment just to sink into those sensations. And maybe take just one little gentle breath in. Find yourself calm and centered. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is to see if you can bring up that stressful thing. Bring it up in your mind. Just look at it, just observe it. See if you can pinpoint where you feel the stress in your body when you think about that stressful thing. Do you feel it in your head? Do you feel it in your neck or in your shoulders? Perhaps your arms. Maybe you feel it in your heart. Maybe in your stomach or in your legs. Just see if you can pinpoint where you feel that stress. Just let it be there, okay? And this time, when we do our heart breathing, I want you to imagine that you're breathing into your heart, but you're also breathing into that stress. You're also breathing into that stress. You can just use your imagination, okay? So just find that place of stress that you're feeling. And it's okay if it's vague, if you feel like you don't really get it. It's okay. Just notice the feeling of stress, kind of, even if it's vague or kind of nebulous. And we will start. So go ahead and take a deep breath in, into your heart, into the stress. And let it go. Again, breathe into your heart, breathe into that stress. And let it go. Breathe into your heart, breathe into that stress. Let it go. Breathe into your heart, breathe into the stress. Breathe into the stress, breathe into your heart. Do a few more. Breathe into your stress, breathe into your heart. Let it go. Breathe into your heart, into that stress. Let it go. Last one. Breathe into your stress. Breathe into your heart. And let it go. Stay here for a few moments. Just notice what happened to whatever stress you were working with. Did it shift? Did it change? Did it move? Many people often report very interesting things that can happen. You just kind of breathe into the stress in this kind of still, peaceful way. Just really let yourself feel into it. Feel into your body, how your body feels. On a scale of 0 to 10, how strong is your stress? How relaxed do you feel? You can go ahead and put your hand down. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and come back to the room. Open your eyes, maybe take another kind of deep breath. Let it go. Maybe you want to wiggle out your shoulders or something, okay? Okay. So just tune in to yourself. How was that for you? What was the impact on your body, in your experience? What was the impact on your mind and your thoughts? My hope is that through these progressive exercises, we were able to reduce stress even by just a little bit, just to give you a sense of kind of, what can happen in even a short amount of time. So nearing the end of this presentation, and just kind of want to highlight that there are wonderful resources out there, both for children and for grown-ups. Now the 2 books that I have there are books that I highly recommend that can help people discover mindfulness and discover more peaceful ways of dealing with thoughts and feelings. Okay, and there's a bunch of apps. Many people know about calm.com, but there's many more than that, actually. Okay, Calm's a good one, as I mentioned. It's a really good one. Okay. So my final words really is just to kind of reiterate what I've mentioned and what the whole point of this is, which is that healing happens when we can meet our pain with acceptance and with love, with our breath and with our presence. Okay? And this final quote, which is my favorite, by the poet Rilke, where he says, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once with beauty and with courage. Perhaps everything that frightens us is, in its deepest essence, something helpless that wants our love." Thank you very much, CAC. Again, it's my pleasure to be with you, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Thanks. Bye-bye.